All right, everybody. Oops. I gotta see if we are on the AirPods or the mic. We must be on the AirPods. Okay, that's good. That's what we wanted. All right. You guys still hear me now? Great. Okay. So we've got a lot of updates that have happened here, and a lot has changed overnight. So bear with me for just a second. We now have tropical depression number 9. Tropical depression number 9, folks. All right, thanks for joining, everyone. So we're going to do a real quick update on how this changes things for us, because it does and it also doesn't. It'll make sense in a minute here. So let me get right to it. So this is SciCrat. I want to pull up Radar Omega first. Here's the data, and this is why they're going with tropical depression versus a PTC. Is just a technicality. Long story short, what you're looking at is Radar Omega. This is visible satellite, and you've got the Hurricane Hunter aircraft data on there. And they basically found, hold on, let me minimize this. I am learning. It's taking me a minute, but I'm learning. It's been a night, and I'll tell you why. But they basically take, we've got the blue icons, that's the Hurricane Hunter data. So what they're basically doing is they're taking passes through the storm, trying to find an area of low level circulation. The important thing to remember with what we're trying to do right now is models are just models. We say this all the damn time, where models are oftentimes wrong until they're right. They just assume they're wrong until proven right. And I'm going to put the satellite into viewer into motion here, but basically our models are only going to be as good as the data that they have. They are essentially trying to make an artificial atmosphere with the same parameters that we have in our true atmosphere and simulate it in a faster amount of time than if it were to happen in reality. And there's so much to simulate, and that's why we have model errors. So the more data that we can give the model, the more accurate it's going to be. Also, the closer we get to an event, the more accurate it's going to be because that's less stuff that it has to model basically prior to the event. What we're looking at is them actually trying to gather this data. This is live, and you can view this in the Radar Omega app, by the way. This Hurricane Hunter data, you can see the passes that they're making, and it appears that they're finding some sort of a low-level center here because they have issued a tropical depression status for this storm, which does make sense. I believe that flight level or the lower level winds on this are 35 miles per hour. We need 39, 39, 40, something in there to get a tropical storm. So that's, they don't name the storm until it's at least a tropical storm. This will be Imelda at some point. And this is on schedule, but it's also not on schedule. Um, it's not that far behind. It looks like it's farther behind than it is, but I was looking at this morning. I'm like, this isn't too far behind. I'm going to zoom out and we're going to talk about what the big change is. So I'm going to use Cycrad for this and go to tropical weather, oops, I'm sorry, active systems rather. And then not Humberto. Don't want Humberto. We want TD9. Let's go forecast cone, forecast track, forecast points. So I don't know what this is. This cone is completely 100% the opposite of what it was up until 8 hours ago. This is an atrocious embarrassment for our weather models, and I think everybody agrees with that. But one thing I think that is important to remember here, I don't know if this storm is actually going to do this. So the cone, the storm can go anywhere in this cone. It can stay to the left side or it can stay to the right side. If it stays to the right side and it really goes out to sea, then don't even bother with it. But you got to remember, folks, there's a lot of real estate over in the western part of the cone here. The center track line does not go on land. And it's, if you look at the actual cone, they've explicitly avoided putting the cone over any land period. And I personally disagree with this. And I'll tell you why. However, it doesn't matter. Regardless, if the storm, remember the cone, the important part is the cone does not tell you the size of the storm. It does not tell you where the impacts will be. It only is a margin for error. The center track line right here is where it's for the center is forecasted to go. The cone is simply an error margin. All that it is there for is to say it might go a little bit over this way or a little bit over that way. I personally think it's going to hedge on the leftmost leftern, is that even a word? Leftmost side of the cone. And I think this actually could be a little bit of a problem for areas like Palm Coast and Jacksonville, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, just because the storm or the center is not necessarily landfalling does not mean that there won't be impacts. It does not mean that there's not something to go out there and investigate, if that makes sense. So here's what I think is going to happen. I honestly, because there are some outlier models that are like Euro AI is still putting this right over Charleston, but I honestly do think that we're going to see a shift back in the models. We see this a lot, and I'm actually surprised that the National Hurricane Center adjusted so fast. Oftentimes, they're very slow to adjust to avoid the back and forth effect, but I can't really hold that against them because a lot of the model tracks are showing um, a turn. Now, I don't really call this out to sea because to me, out to sea means that we're not going to even worry about it. We're not going to bother with it. So to say that this storm is out to sea, I think is wrong. There will be United States impacts from this storm unless some weird thing happens that we're not seeing right now. Um, I say that because the storm is going to be, we can't say spatial area, it's going to be, X amount of miles across. But we can say that it's likely that we're going to have some coastal issues like beach erosion, minor storm surge, etc. Probably from like Jacksonville to Charleston. We can't rule out a significant flooding rainfall event anywhere from Savannah to Charleston to Florence to Wilmington, all the way up into Greenville, South Carolina. We can't say that we can rule that out. And we also can't rule out this thing actually doing what we thought it would last night. Here's the thing, folks, and this is where I differ, and sometimes this is one of the reasons why I don't really fit in with the weather and meteorologist community. Um, I believe heavily in not making knee-jerk decisions. And I'm not saying the NHC is making a knee-jerk decision here. I actually think what they did makes sense, kind of. But I think us calling off, because there's a lot of folks who are like, it's canceled, it's over, it's done. I think us calling this off would be a knee-jerk decision because what's going to happen is we've already spent money and time to put resources, people, and equipment in place, knowing that this was a full possibility. We knew this. This is no surprise that this could happen. It's not like it's in the Gulf where it has nowhere to go. So we knew this would happen. For us to just call this off and say, nope, we're done, don't want anything to do with it, would be very ignorant and a huge waste of money. Now, I don't know if we're going to still run a full scale deployment on this or if we're just going to do a couple cameras or what, but we're not making any decisions right now. Today is not a decision day until later on. So the initial plan, the initial timeline was today we were going to get in the car, we were going to go to either Savannah or Charleston, and then we were going to adjust from there. The storm has slowed down, which is why this is happening. So this storm has slowed down, and Humberto, which is off there to the right, that storm has strengthened. So it's having a little bit more of an effect on this tropical depression. So it's there's basically it's an area of low pressure, and so is our tropical depression. Between them, there is a higher pressure. That higher pressure air wants to go to the lower pressure air and get taken back up in the atmosphere. So it's pulling the tropical depression a little bit east, and that is why the a lot of the models are indicating that sharper right turn off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida, there in a day or two or whatever, because that's going to be very close to where that hurricane is. So Humberto is really going to influence what happens with Tropical Depression 9, which is our storm. Um, if Humberto, for some reason, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty significant storm, if that thing starts tracking farther east, if it starts curving more east for some reason, or if it's weaker, or if basically if it does anything that does not make sense with the models. So if it does anything anomalous from the models, meaning if the models say it should be over here at this time, if it's over there at that time, then we need to start reevaluating because that could have serious implications on TD9, which is our storm, because TD9 is going to rely heavily on what happens with Humberto, and the models are basically making the future of TD9 off of what they think is going to happen with Humberto. So any sort of discrepancy with Humberto, they just issued more warnings there, just seeing pop up, with Humberto means that we could have potential discrepancies with TD9. So while I said I wasn't really interested in Humberto, I'm not. It's way out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't got a boat, and I sure as hell ain't going to Bermuda. We actually, I think, today need to watch Humberto more than we watch TD9 because it's down there. It's not going anywhere. It's just gonna kind of chill out there, spin around, and make some rain. Humberto, we need to watch because that's going to come in and basically start pulling on our storm. And like I said, any small change with that could really influence TD9. I have been in the weather world for 11 years, folks, and the biggest mistake you can make is trusting a 12-hour model trend and saying, yep, we're done. Don't worry about it. That's very dangerous. I'm not saying that I doubt this model trend, but I doubt this model trend. Up until about midnight last night, everything was saying Savannah, Charleston, maybe as far south as Jacksonville, maybe as far north as Wilmington, North Carolina, but it's basically saying Georgia coast, South Carolina coast. 11 hours and 14 minutes later, everybody has called it off. It's junk, it's garbage, don't worry about it anymore. It's been 11 hours and 14 minutes. We watched over the past, well, up until midnight, the past 48 to 72 hours worth of trends. We're closer and closer and closer to the Gulf or the coast. I am not going to throw away 72 hours of inching farther west for 11 hours of inching way or jumping way east. Um, the Hurricane Center has to with their cones because protocols and they have to kind of follow the model data. And I'm not saying that this is going to landfall necessarily, but it is not a good idea for us as people in the weather enterprise and also anybody who lives in these areas that could potentially be affected by this thing. It would be a very poor decision to just say, nope, it's done, don't worry about it. like I said, 11 hours and 15 minutes ago now, this thing was beelining, supposedly, for the coast. And it had been working up and inching farther west for 3 days on the models. Now at midnight, we've had some more models, and they're jumping. Every model run is jumping to the east significantly. And yes, that is a trend, and we do need to watch that, and we need to acknowledge that and understand that it could be right. In fact, it might, there's actually a good chance that it's right. But we can't do this back and forth. It's exhausting to people, and it also doesn't accomplish anything if we do this back and forth. That's why I'm taking a middle ground right now. I'm kind of planning on not really a direct landfall, but I really, folks, this is not a forecast. This is just my operational plan. I am still planning on a impactful storm. Let's put it that way. I don't know what that's going to be. That could be flooding rains in Charleston. That could be flooding rains in Savannah, flooding rains in Appalachia. That could be beach chaos anywhere from Palm Coast, Florida to Wilmington, North Carolina. I don't know. Hell, it could even be a hurricane. I don't know. But what I am saying is, like I said the other day, we have a potential hurricane in close proximity to the United States. This potential hurricane is going to be like, oh heck, what is that? Let me measure here. I need the distance tool. We're going to have a hurricane 149.17 miles off of the coast of the United States. That is not something to write off. That is not something to just say, nope, it's not going to be a problem. It's 150 miles. We have seen, folks, we have seen storms in 12 hours on the models shift hundreds of miles. Last night, this thing shifted about 150 miles to the east with its turn. What if data comes in and tonight it shifts 150 miles back west and everybody has written it off? Don't be complacent with this. So what that means for us, we are not going to make any decisions today because this is slowed down. It's basically what I was getting at. If we look at Radar Omega here, you can see it's going to be tomorrow at 8 a.m. It should be aligned with that southern tip of Florida down here. So by 8 a.m. tomorrow, this is where we're looking in the pink circle. Should be aligned with the southern tip of Florida. That's going to be our cue tomorrow morning that we need to get moving, because what I'm interested in here is like this oh my God, Port St. Lucie area all the way up the Georgia coast. And the main reason I'm interested in that is because this storm, look at how close that's going to be potentially to the coast. And remember, this thing could end up anywhere in this cone. That's 60 miles off the coast, folks. We could see tropical storm conditions, maybe along this coast if this thing goes really any farther west. It's not going. Here's the deal, folks. It's not going to take much of a jump back to the west to put this thing back on track with the United States. So this is not like a doomsday scenario here, and I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just saying that we don't want to drop this off of the radar, literally. Um, Timing wise, so that means that tomorrow, I think we have, there's two of us here in Atlanta. We've got one in North Carolina, and we've got another one coming down from the Midwest. There may be more if something crazy happens, but I don't think it will. But basically, all of our people right now are just kind of holding. We're all kind of where we need to be, waiting for, I guess, further orders, and those orders are going to come from the weather, frankly. So I don't know. I don't know if it's canceled or not. I'm 50-50. I 50-50% think this thing's going to do something and surprise us, or not, depending how you look at it. And I'm 50% thinking this is potentially trash. Not sure. For everybody that lives here, hopefully trash. But my thinking is that tomorrow at lunch, we're going to probably need to reposition. And honestly, folks, unless like, if this thing really looks questionable and really looks like, why are we bothering? Okay, let it go and just stay here. But honestly, I know it ain't far, but we may just say the hell with it and just inch a little bit closer and go to Macon. Or Savannah is good, because you can go to Savannah, and I want to walk you guys through the decision making here. We're up here right now in Roswell. Savannah's down here. We've got 75 and 16 that take us to Savannah, and then you got the north-south I-95 out of Savannah. Savannah would be a good staging area. I mean, obviously, I don't want to waste gas and time, but if tomorrow this looks like something that, yeah, let me rephrase that. If tomorrow at about lunch, if this still looks like something that, yeah, we can do something with that, um, we'll probably want to be in Savannah by the end of day tomorrow because Monday at 8 a.m. it's going to be basically kind of between Orlando and Palm Bay. It's going to be in this area right here. That means, remember that we're not just targeting the central track, we're targeting the entire storm. We could have like rain bands and feeder bands that kind of look like this that are kind of reaching out and causing some problems as well. Maybe some severe weather associated flooding, who knows. There may be space, long story short, there may be something to do on Monday and then target anywhere from there all the way up to Wilmington. So that's kind of what we're looking at, folks. It's not a high confidence forecast. Now, they've actually just issued tropical storm warnings. You see this here? They just issued these tropical storm warnings out in the open waters off the coast of Florida. And let's see here. South winds 10 to 15 knots tonight, seas 3 to 5. Let's see, tropical storm conditions possible Sunday night. Northeast to east winds 15 to 20 knots west of 79 west. And northeast to east 30 to 35 knots east of 79 west. Seas 6 to 8 feet. Numerous showers and storms. Tropical storm conditions possible on Monday. Winds 35 to 45 knots, becoming 45 to 55 knots. Seas will be 12 to 18 feet, building to 16 to 25 feet. So, tropical storm warnings out in the open water. This is just a tropical. Oh, hold on. Did they? Wait a minute. Did. I need to figure out where these tropical storm watches are. Stand by. I don't know if this is coastal. It's just because I'm not used to the map. I don't know if these are coastal or if that's stand by. Because this might actually make an impactful decision here. I need to turn weather alerts on. Okay, so we now have tropical storm watches. I don't know how I missed this. I'm an idiot. I don't know how to read. We've got tropical storm watches now from Daytona Beach all the way to Port St. Lucie, Florida. So this is breaking news, everybody. Breaking news here. Tropical storm watches now in effect for Florida Peninsula from Daytona Beach all the way down to Port St. Lucie. And now, when they issue these tropical storm watches, they're not issuing these all the way, in to the interstate or anything. But these 10 or 15 miles of coast now have tropical storm watches in effect because they can issue these. Um, Basically, you can get them. We've got them over the water, and we now have them for the beaches. So we now have tropical storm watches for the beaches on the Florida Peninsula. So tropical storm watch means tropical storm force winds possible within 48 hours. So the wind, here's the forecast from the issuing agency here. Below tropical storm force wind. Um, what? Latest forecast, below tropical storm forecast force wind. Doesn't make sense. Whatever. Peak wind forecast gust to 45. So whatever. There you go. Threat to life and property that includes typical forecast uncertainty in track size and intensity. The potential for wind of 39 to 57 miles per hour. Plan for hazardous wind. Equivalent of tropical storm force. Prepare efforts to protect property. Should be underway. Prepared for limited wind damage. Potential impacts. Damage to porches, awnings, carports, sheds, unanchored mobile homes. Storm surge. Here we go. Latest forecast. Localized storm surge possible. Peak storm surge inundation. The potential for up to 2 feet above ground somewhere within storm surge prone areas. I love the confidence. Up to 2 feet above ground somewhere within surge prone areas. But hey, I get it. Window of concern Sunday afternoon. So kind of sort of like what I was talking, but I think that's going to be closer to later Sunday. Um, is this a storm surge watch? Or is that just the coast? It's just coast. Okay. Let me make it so you guys can see this a little bit better. So that's our breaking news. We now have a tropical storm watch. It ain't much of one, but we got one. Just going to adjust the parameters on this a little bit here. There we go. It's these pink areas, folks. Daytona Beach, all the way down to Fort Pierce. Again, it only goes inland 10, 15 miles. It's for the beaches, basically, the coastal areas. But regardless, so I don't know. I think the takeaway here is not it's we don't really want to fork or focus on the cone yet, and I don't think any of us should make any decisions realistically for operations until at least 8 p.m. tonight. So that's kind of where we're at with Project Weather Eye. We are just holding as planned. That's which is pretty much what we expected to do is just be holding. So I'm gonna check the chat. I gotta pull up the stream though to do it. I'm gonna try to check the chat. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I mean, give us forecasters a little bit of wiggle room on this. Like we're trying. We're really trying. Um, this is a tough one. This is really a tough one. It did change path, yes, but be cautious with that because, like I said, there's some issues with this. So it changed path. Yeah, it did. But not necessarily. It is not a fish storm. So the reason this is not a fish storm or an out to sea storm is not going to have any impacts on the coast. There will be impacts, most likely from this on the coast. Folks, the cone does not tell you where the areas will be impacted. That's the problem with psychology and the cone. Areas out of the cone will have impacts. The storm will spill out of the cone. The cone is simply a margin of error for the center line track. That's all it is. It is just a margin of error for the center line track. It is basically useless other than messaging information to the public. So this is definitely not a write-off. We have seen these little piddle squat storms sometimes cause significant damage. We've seen, well, it was Hurricane Nicole, and that did make landfall, but it was kind of a similar situation. It was a piddle squat storm. It came from the Western Atlantic and hit Vero Beach. That was a piddle squat storm, and it wasn't much, but there were homes in like Daytona and stuff, and like they were just collapsing from the waves and the sea erosion. This actually might be an interesting thing to go document. So, is this channel going to give an update at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time? I don't know, man. I'm just basically giving updates whenever I want to give updates, whenever it makes sense. So, yeah, there will be an update tonight. Is it going to be at 8? It beats the hell out of me. But there's going to be two more updates today. Two more. I can tell you that. Adam doesn't think he can make that sharp of a right turn unless it stalls out. Yeah, so that's why I'm a little bit skeptical of this forecast. Most of the models are now saying it's going to stop and turn. I don't know, guys. I'm also skeptical too because we're talking about a large mass of energy and storm that has to now reroute. So I think the best thing we can all do is just say, hey, we're not really sure. We got like a 50-50 shot. That's probably the best thing we can do at this point. North Carolina, South Carolina, Florence type storm. Yes. Um, oh shoot. God dang it. How do I? So I kind of forgot about this. But yeah, kind of sort of Florence idea. Florence was kind of a piddle squat storm that caused a lot of flooding issues and what I kind of call like exacerbated, like maybe that's the best word, but like it caused a lot. It would not have been a problem if it would not have prolonged itself. But there was a lot of flooding, beach erosion, regular erosion, infrastructure issues basically from flooding and surge. Sometimes because of the geography of a location, a foot of storm surge, which isn't much, but a foot of storm surge can really cause problems just because of the geography of areas. And I think that was kind of partially the issue with Florence was where that thing's set up. Um, and that this is kind of, I'm not saying, and I know none of us are saying, but that this is necessarily a Florence situation. But yeah, it does remind me, and I think it's reminding a lot of people kind of the Florence situation as well. Um, just where it was kind of a cruddy little storm that everybody kind of just wrote off, and then it ended up actually causing problems. The outer bands are going to cause problems because this is close to, yeah, exactly. It's like what April just said. So the outer bands are going to cause problems being this close to shore, even if it does make a turn. Exactly. That's exactly the big problem here. That is exactly the problem. So I don't know, folks, and I don't really know if this was unexpected or not. I mean, like I said last night, we were probably going to see like three more big things. There's going to be another bombshell that drops. This thing's going to go way west. Mark my words. I bet you anything. In a couple hours, the models are going to flip flop this thing back west, and everybody on the internet's going to panic and be like, "Oh my God, it's coming back west." And then either it's going to stay on that track, or the models are going to flip flop back east again, and everyone's be like, "Nope, just kidding. It's going back east." So we've got another surprise up our sleeve, its sleeve here. I think I would not be surprised to see this thing do something weird. Um, but for now, Project Weather Eye, we are going to stage here in Atlanta for today, and we are going to either go tomorrow and deploy, or we are going to prepare to pack our bags and go home. I'm not quite sure. Yes, Sidewinder. Hey, we got Zach from TPL Power in there. Yeah, everybody give say hi to Zach. He's from TPL Power. So there's a story behind that. So anyway, we were trying to check in at the desk last night, and this lady starts talking to us. We wait. It was a solid 30 to 45 minutes in the lobby. We waited, and this lady was really weird at the checking us in. She's very weird, and she's like, "Oh, what brings you guys in?" And Zach's just like, "Work," and I'm like, "Thank you." And she's like, "Oh, who do you work for?" And he looks at me, and I'm just like, "Uh," and I look over and I saw something that had a T on it, and then I saw something that had a P, and then her name started with like an L or something. I'm like, TPL Power," and she's like, "Oh, okay." So I can't cover all that up. So she puts TPL Power and gives us a discount on our invoices. I don't know. I just made it up because it sounded like we were going to get less questions than if we said, it's storm chasers or something, because that's just going to create panic and we don't want that. So it's just easier to say TPL Power or something like that. So that's what we did. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't know if that's Zach or who that is, but yeah, TPL Power. That's the new LLC that we operate under now, apparently, and it's made up, but it'll never die. So I think later on today we'll go live again. I'm so over these housekeeping people. I am not checking out, and they know that. And I told them twice already. They banged on the door at 9 o'clock this morning, and I said, "I'm not checking out. I'm going to extend my stay. Leave me alone." I go down to the desk at 10:30. I said, "Hey, I'm not checking out. Can you please tell the housekeeping to stop banging on the door and trying to open it?" Just banging on the door again. I swear to God. Like whatever. Little signs out there and everything. Um, yeah, Florence caused flooding. Yeah, Florence was a mess. I don't remember what year that was because that was before I really paid a lot of attention to this stuff. It's one of those storms that lives in my mind where a lot of these storms I can remember what year they were. That's one of those ones that doesn't even have like a date or a time, and it just kind of, I know it exists, but um, let me look it up here. Oh God, when the hell was that? Florence. Let's see here. 2018. I thought it was like 2015 or something. Yeah, Florence. The difference between this one and Florence is Florence came out of the MDR, the main development region, and it kind of went like straight into the coast. Um, but it was kind of a piddle squat little storm here at the end. I think it was a hurricane. I think it was like it was either a category one or a category two at landfall, but it lingered. It sat there and it lingered. It brought a lot of rain. It had a lot of rain that kind of came up and bent around. It caused a lot of flooding. So definitely not a Florence situation, but definitely reminds, I think, a lot of people of that, especially the area, because it's a very similar area. Um, so yeah, I mean, we definitely can draw some sort of a relation there, I think. Super God. Yeah, we don't want to hype it up, but we also don't want to underplay it, and that's the problem right now. I'm a little disappointed because I thought we had a slam dunk forecast, and I thought we were pretty much good to go, and I thought we would be arriving in the deployment area right now. But that's just my honest opinion. It's good that we don't have anything coming yet, but um, the thing is, folks, bottom line, the impacts are still to be determined. The track still might be to be determined. Project Weather Eye is, yes, TJ is correct, actually. Project Weather Eye is, as of right now, we're still on for a deployment. We're not going to pack up our purse and go home because something changed a little bit. We're out here to do something, and everybody wants to do something. We didn't drive out here for nothing. So this might be one of those things where you kind of have to go find something to do. And might be the only thing that we have to do for tropics this year. I mean, we might be straight into blizzards. Maybe a severe event. Maybe we can do maybe I can get a severe weather deployment approved for like October if we have a week where we get some severe storms to make up for this. But um, for this situation, this might not be the last. Like we might have another opportunity for tropics this year, but it's looking kind of lower than 50%, you know? Um, so if this ends up being the only thing, um, we would be real upset if we went home and we didn't do something with it. I will tell you what this isn't, what we do is not necessarily just because of science or public safety or anything like that. That's part of it. Part of what we do is because those of us that are involved, we want to go do this. Like we enjoy doing this kind of thing. Um, if there's something we can do and make something out of it, we've got an audience, um, so we can go make do with it. Yeah, this one changes every day. Don't ignore it. Yeah, it has. It has. Every day has been something different. Yesterday, everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's going to Florence and or Charleston. Oh my God." The day before that, it was, "It's going out to sea. Oh my God." The day before that, it was, "We don't even know where it's going. Oh my God." Like every day it's been something different. So you go to bed, you wake up, it's something different. So we're gonna go to bed tonight, wake up, and hell, the cone might be in frickin' Texas for all we know. Probably not, but you get the point. Um, so all right, guys. Well, that's gonna be about it. I am going to be back later. I think we will maybe instead of just staring at a computer screen, we'll look at some of the equipment and kind of get ready. But long story short, I'm gonna give you the stats. I'm gonna give you the stats on this thing. Oh wait, we have radar Omega. Hello, we have tools. Stand by. I got to get through this mess of recon data first. Tropical Depression 9 has wind speeds of 35 miles per hour. Max gusts are 45 miles per hour, moving northwest at a huge 6 miles per hour. Wow, that is fast. Not. The pressure is 1,005 millibars, and it's located there. So again, let's look at I've been trying to not show the models because every 5 hours the models have shown something else. Actually, what's funny was the European AI model that yesterday, basically every model yesterday said this was going to South Carolina, basically, except the Euro AI, which said nope, it's going to go way out in the water. This morning, I'll show you what the Euro says. This is what the Euro says this morning. You guys might recognize this from the thumbnail. That's what the Euro says this morning, and that's the coast. So the Euro AI model says 977 millibar hurricane smoke in Charleston, but 12 hours ago, it was the only one that sent it out to sea. So either it's onto something or it's the most wrong and worthless model I've ever seen. So I don't know. And if you're wondering about the cat, I thought it was funny, so I got to put the cat. Um, yeah, that's that. Let's look at a couple. Let's look at just the two hurricane models we have in Radar Omega. I don't want to look at have they, haves be. I don't want to look at the AI this, the FEF 358, whatever the hell Google model. Let's just look at the two tried and true, albeit kind of garbage hurricane models that we have available. I'm not a huge fan of either hurricane model really, but let's just look at them. And let's see. I'm going to turn off the recon data. Grapes, where is it? This one? No, 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 no. There, that one. Yep, 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 yep. Cool. All right, get out of here. There we go. So this only loads a small square. It's kind of like HRRR. It runs a little bit higher resolution, but it's only loading a small like mesoscale sector. Every step forward is 3 hours. So here we are tomorrow morning at 8. It's pretty much right on track. But look at oh, that's a little close, ain't it? Holy smokes. Look at this, guys. Hold on, I gotta make this full screen for you people. Jesus, that's cutting it close. This is why I'm saying you can't just don't just go by just the cone here. Okay. Look at that. That looks like an event to me. Look at that. I mean, you've got a lot of dry air over here on the western side. So that's I wonder if we could have a tornado risk. I don't know, and I'm not looking too deep, but I wonder because of this dry air over here if we could end up with a kind of a garbage tornado risk. But typically you're going to end up with that tornado risk on the forward right quadrant of the storm, not really this like bottom left, but I don't know, you never know. But anyway, look at that, guys. That is really cutting it close. This is the perfect example of why I say don't just trust the cone. The cone is forecasting the center of the storm. You've still got all of this storm out here that you got to worry about. And this is just one model. This is one possibility. But look at this. And this one, oh wow. Guys, if we ended up, this is on Tuesday. If Tuesday morning, late Monday, Tuesday morning, if we ended up with feeder bands like this, just dumping rain over Charleston coast to Savannah in a configuration like this where it kind of persists and persists and persists, and here we are at 8 p.m. and it's still dumping rain over Charleston. Here we are at midnight, still dumping rain over Charleston. Looks like it's finally done 5 a.m. So if we get, 24 hours of on and off heavy rain showers, that could be a problem. But you'll see this goes out 96 hours so far. And look at this, guys. I know if you look at the cone, you're like, oh, that's definitely going to go out to sea. But when you look at models, it's a little different story. It puts it in perspective. Look at the close proximity that this is. It's like right in that little armpit region there, folks. If Humberto doesn't tug on this as much as expected, this thing's going to Charleston. I'm serious. If Humberto does not pull on this, which it probably will, but if it doesn't pull on it for whatever reason, it's going to Charleston. That's the only reason these models have started diverging off of what they were converging on yesterday. So watch Humberto today. If it does not strengthen as it's expected to, or if for some reason it kind of goes off to the right a little bit, that means this one we really need to watch. Let's look at the HMON. I wonder if that's Oh, we still have zero. This only runs twice a day, doesn't it? Yeah. So this is basically running off of last night's data because this one only runs twice a day. But look at HMON. So last night, boom, Savannah and Charleston get smoked Tuesday morning. So HMON says Savannah to Charleston gets smoked on Tuesday morning, but this is last night's model run. We will get a new model run for this model in like 2 or 3 hours. This only runs twice a day. So before everybody goes on Twitter and tries to cancel me and play that game, this is last night's data. But this is a good way to illustrate that how much different today is versus last night and why we have to respect these models a little bit and say that sometimes they just don't know what the hell they're doing. And we have to kind of just say, well, what's going to happen happens. So let's just monitor and be vigilant. But yeah, HMON freaking smokes them. So What does normally I don't do this, but what does HRRR show? Does it even render down that far south? It does. What's HRRR do with this? It's not going to go out far enough, and it's certainly not a tropical model. HRRR runs it west of track, west of center. It actually runs it to the right of the center, but look at this. You've got potential storm conditions here on the Florida Peninsula tomorrow at 8 p.m. Oh, Jesus, really? I wonder if we need to get down there. I wonder if we need to get down there. Hmm. Uh-oh. That kind of throws a wrench in thing. This could end up actually being an area of interest just to be in an experience. Oh boy, how far away is that? Let me do a Google here. Eight hours, 7 hours. Hmm. Oh boy. I don't know. So HRRR seems to really be in line with the high resolution HWRF. Let's run that up a little bit again here. HRRR is very much in agreement with HWRF, but HWRF doesn't show, which is this one, doesn't really show all that activity. Oh no, this is the 29th. Yeah, here's the wait. Okay, so this is tomorrow at 2 p.m. I wonder if I wonder if I read the time wrong or if HRRR is ahead of schedule. Because HRRR looked ahead of schedule to me. So here's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Yeah, so shoot. HRRR is ahead of schedule. The HRRR is not a hurricane model, but I mean, I think it's, I don't really think there's anything wrong with looking at it. HRRR is like 12 hours ahead of the hurricane models, and I don't know if it's onto something or if it's just trash. What's the GFS say? Not that I really want to use the GFS at this range, but GFS is lower resolution. You see, here's Humberto over here. GFS shows the curve, which I expected. Do I have? Hold on here. What do I have for choices for Euro? I don't have a whole lot of choices for Euro here, but I just want to see. This MSLP should show a little something, something here. Very interesting, folks. Very interesting. Hold on here. I lost my screen. Okay, computer froze up. Cool. Anyway, that's what we got. I'll just switch this back to set. My computer is being stupid this morning. So, folks, there it is right there. That's our big old blob. Look at that thing. Wow, that thing is just crazy. Not. So, that's what we got. All right. Well, that's what I got. So, right. And that's the thing. Like the HRRR model isn't really like peaked and tuned. to the hurricane parameters, if you will, but at this range, I agree that it's probably reasonable to at least take it somewhat into consideration. So the HRRR agrees with the path of the hurricane models, but it disagrees with the timing. And I tell you what, folks, if the storm moves faster, it might sneak in and not get pulled on by Humberto. Oh my gosh. If this thing speeds up, we better watch it. But I don't know if it's actually speeding up. So that's just like real time thought here. But we can watch it. It's moving at 6 miles per hour. It's a tropical depression now. It'll probably be a tropical storm tonight. We've got recon out there, so we're gonna know. So we'll know if it speeds up or does anything. So we won't have to guess for much longer. So all right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate everybody who's been along for this. We'll be back live again this afternoon and then again tonight, maybe with some more answers. But again, thanks. Obviously, the most of our updates are being posted on my Facebook page and obviously these live streams here. So we'll fire up another live stream here a little bit later on. In fact, I'll probably schedule it here in just a minute or a couple minutes. So thanks for supporting the project, folks. You can learn more at projectweatheri.com, wxi.org, and find links on all of our social media. And of course, we have our Discord page as well. It's discord.gg/stormchaservince, or is it see the storm? I don't know. I got to get the link back on. I got to get the link put back on the website. I don't know why it came off of there, but have a good one, folks. I'll be back as soon as we have any new information. I will be back. I will keep this. We were talking about going to Golden Corral or some shit, so I will keep the streaming phone on me and go live from wherever we have to, because I don't know. That's what we got to do these days. And you know what? Sure, why not? All right, so I'll leave you guys with that. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for being here.